Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we have got some huge changes to discuss for Warhammer 40k 9th edition. We have both Grand Tournament Pack Nephilim is how it's going to be. Warzone Nephilim has dropped, and we have a balanced data slate that has also dropped within basically the same week of each other. So huge shakeups for 40k. Some factions have risen from the lower tiers of the codexes, and some of them have dropped in their competitiveness vastly. So we're going to talk about all those changes today. This video is going to be more generic about the whole state of 40k. On Friday there will be a Tyranids specific one where we're going to dive into the nitty gritties of everything the Tyranids will have to adapt and cope with coming into this update to 40k. So if that all sounds good, do subscribe to stay up to date and don't miss our video on Friday. Like button, that helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. And if you do want to support the channel, thank you to our channel members. You could become one. It really keeps us going here more than anything else. So with all that out of the way, let's dive into today's video. Okay, so a lot of you guys have probably seen a bunch of the changes in Warzone Nephilim, and you've probably read the balanced data slate yourself, but if you haven't, we're going to kind of sum up a lot of it here just so you got one nice condensed place to check things out. We will go over, again, what's included. We'll talk about the command point rework, some secondary changes, a lot of secondary changes, some key things from the balanced data slate, and kind of conclusion thoughts about how everything shakes up for the next couple months here in Warhammer 40k. So what you get out of this is the Warzone Nephilim Grand Tournament Pack is just the tournament pack, as we have begged for. It is $30 US, down from $40 because they put the points online. But what they did put in this is they put the rules back into the tournament pack, and they've been updated per FAQs and everything. So now your most up-to-date place to play match play rules without reading FAQs are all in the back of this book, which I think that's awesome. It was really annoying not having any rules or anything in the old one. Now you got them all here. What you also have are the missions, incursion and strike force missions. They, as far as I'm aware, the primaries haven't really changed too much on any of these, but the secondaries are where the big shakeup was. All these pages you can see me flipping through, well, all these pages are all secondaries. So you have every army's secondary in here. Your codex secondaries are now invalid, and they have been updated into here. Even the Tyranids, who have one of the most recent codexes, are updated in here, and they're good updates. So we look forward to that. You know, as much as we rag on the other ones, a all digital thing would be great, but I do really like this one. Out of all the tournament packs they've put out, this is so far my favorite one so far. And the points are online, so yeah, you can check those ones out. Big changes there. The first big change that this chapter brings to 40k is the command point structure. So now, at a 2k game, which most people are playing, especially in matched play, you only get 6 CP to start. So that's, you know, half of what you get to work with. However, you do get 1 CP every single command phase. So you get one in yours, and you get one in your opponent's. So that way, every turn you've got at least one command point to play around with in terms of being able to do some sort of reactive shenanigans throughout the game. The second big change that goes along with this CP stuff is that your warlord traits and relics are no longer free. None of them. You have to pay one CP for every warlord trait and every relic in order to get as many as you need. So now if you really want to have 6 warlord traits and relics, that'll cost you all of your CP to start. Rough. Some armies this hurts more than others. Space Marines, I think really they did love spending a lot of their CP right away at the beginning. I know plenty of Marine players, and they were starting with 6 or 7 CP because their command points aren't that great, or I should say their stratagems aren't that great, so they're better used in buffing their characters. They're going to have to think about that now. Tyranids, we also really like to use a lot of our command points at the beginning. We didn't have to, but they were good, so we did. we'll see how that shakes up. I'm still thinking of probably using 3 to 4 for pregame stuff at always, but that's for another video. I do see the 6 CP is going to be a tough way to play. I have played one game already with this change. I did really like it. I don't like the warlord traits and the relics having to pay for them. I get paying for all of the relics, but having to pay for even your warlord trait, I think that is one step too far. And it would, if they ever revert things back, I would love for them to at least make you get one warlord trait for free. Because what's the point of having a warlord if he doesn't have a warlord trait? Obviously, there are other reasons, but yes, that's what I think. With 6 CP, you're gonna have a lot of choosing to go through. Like I said, relics and warlord traits, pre-game strats. A lot of armies have things like deep strike or alternative deployments, any other pre-game abilities that cost CP, and now you have to weigh up, is it worth using those? I imagine many armies aren't going to be spending too many, maybe one, but not many on those. Strategic reserves, I think, is another thing that is almost never going to be touched now. Maybe you've got a unit of short range guys or melee that you want to pull off on the side, and you could maybe spend 1 CP, but I really don't see strategic reserves being touched at all in this. And then extra detachments is the other big one. I don't see anyone really trying to take an extra detachment because that cuts your CP down by 1/3 for that. So it's going to be an interesting way. I think we'll get stuck into a lot more battalions, and maybe that's better for it, maybe not. We'll have to find out. Next, we have the secondary shakeup. This is the other big one here. Many of the generic secondaries are gone or changed or everything. So first off, ones are gone. Stranglehold, one almost everybody took, that's gone. So now you got to think about what's a new one to go through. To the last, some armies could play this one very well, and it's gone. So that's some auto takes gone. Pierce the Veil was a psychic one. I've never seen anybody do it, anybody try it or anything. Garbage. They got rid of it because of that. Happy with that. Deploy teleport homers and investigate signals. Very few armies played with that one. I think Genestealer Cult are one of the only ones who could really try it, but they're gone because, they're not really worth it. And Titan Hunter is technically gone, but it was rolled into Bring It Down, so it's all just one there, which is good. I think it's a nice quality of life change for us. Some of them have also just been altered, so Engage in All Fronts is now just like, is it still Nachman data? Yeah, it is technically still Nachman data, or R&D. It's Nephilim data, but it's R&D still. You have to be 6 inches away from the center quadrant lines in order to have Engage in All Fronts. So that's a change. You can't just move on to the other side. Also, the 3+ model rule for its unit is based on its starting size. So if you have a unit of 10 Space Marines and they're left to just 1, well, that 1 can still technically achieve Engage in All Fronts. I think that's a nice little change. I don't know. I guess it will probably change a lot in terms of scoring, but the bigger change, in my opinion, is you have to be 6 inches away from the edge. A lot of armies that have medium speed probably aren't going to take this one, and they're going to have to look to something else. Other armies that can be super fast, like Drukhari and Eldar and Genestealer Cult, technically not fast, but deep striking, they'll still go for Engage in All Fronts because that is relatively easy for them to do that. Psychic Interrogation has seen a huge quality of life change. Now, it's still the same 24-inch range, read the mind of a character, do a simple warp charge test, but there's a bonus to it. Now, if you equal or exceed the leadership of the character you are targeting, you gain a CP. That's it. Really, with the limited amount of CP you can work with, some armies are going to want to tech into this secondary and try and farm up a couple, anywhere from 3 to 5 extra CP a turn. Ideally, you're doing 5 because that means you've probably maxed it out. I think armies who can do this really well, Eldar could tech into it. Tyranids can very well tech into this one, and maybe you could try it with Space Marines, but I don't know if that's worth it. Maybe now. it is with it. Raise the banners is also one that has seen a nice change. So putting up banners has slightly changed. Now you can do it even if there are enemies within range of the objective, as long as you have primary control of the objective. So that makes things a lot easier. Your opponent can't just deny you raising banners with towing in through a consolidation or anything. You also, in order to tear down a banner, must have primary control of the objective in your command phase, or in any command phase, I believe technically. In any command phase, you would tear down a banner if you have primary control. So again, not tearing it down in the movement phase, not tearing it down in the fight phase or anything, or even the shooting phase if you have a psychic power that lets you move or something like that. So big change there. I think you'll see banners become a much more taken one, especially with the changes to Stranglehold and To the Last. Stranglehold and Engage in All Fronts, To the Last as well. So those are the big changes from the Warzone pack. Really, it'll be the secondary play style. Now there are also some changes from the data slate that came in, and these ones are affecting, well, we already had the point changes, but these ones are army-wide changes, special rule changes, whatever the case may be, that are going to be affected. And there are 3 armies that were significant or were buffed, and there were 2 armies that were nerfed a little bit. So first up, AdMech vehicles, or AdMech in general, or AdMech, Astra Militarum, in addition to getting a ton of point changes, also gained Armor of Contempt, and their Hammer of the Emperor special rule now affects a lot of vehicles instead of just guardsmen. So their Exploding Sixes is going to be very powerful, but most of their heavy vehicles are 2-up saves, like the Lehman Russes. Those now have Armor of Contempt, as well as even the simple little Sentinel. So more durability for the guard vehicles. Good news for them, absolutely. AdMech buffs. So these guys didn't really get buffed. They got a few point drops, but really a lot of their old nerfs back when they were really toned up. They toned them down with some CP changes to stratagems like Enriched Rounds, Acquisition at Any Cost. They took core off the Iron Striders. Those have all been reverted. So now, Iron Striders are back. They're going to be doing some serious damage, so watch out. You'll probably start seeing 6 to 9 of those on the battlefield again regularly, because they are very good with the core keyword. And then, actually that's about it. So that's the big change, is them getting the core keyword back, but also some stratagems. Vanguard strat for Enriched Rounds is now 1 CP all the time, not based on squad size. It is still 5 up auto wound to hit, not 4s like it used to be. That change is still in there, but good changes for the AdMech. Necron buffs. This is probably the army that has seen the biggest buff in all of the changes happening. So first off, all of their vehicles gain core. Huge, because they have a lot of rules that benefit core models. It's just they were so limited before. Then it got buffed to more units, and now it's pretty much their whole army has the core keyword. They went away with the noble keyword. This was a special keyword given to certain Necron characters, the Cryptex and the Lords, and I think that's it. Maybe, and some obviously, and the Silent King. But they've gone away with the noble keyword. It's now just Necron characters, and this is big for the dynastic code. Used to only work through nobles, I believe, and now it's just characters. So nobles are gone. Also, their dynastic codes got buffed. So there are 6 codes, if I'm remembering this right. If I'm wrong, correct me, Connor. There are 6 codes for the Necrons, and you assign them, and you get 1 every turn, and you have to assign them at the beginning of the game. But there's always 1 left out. So now what it is you pick 1 code, and that is active the whole game, and you still assign the other ones. So every turn you'll have 2 codes active, but one's stuck the whole game. The ones that come to mind immediately are, I believe there's a light cover one the whole time, which is good if your army can have light cover the whole game in addition to everything. There is one, basically a mini Armor of Contempt in a way for Necron, all of Necrons. You could have one where you can fall back and still do actions, or you can advance and still do actions. So maybe if they want to play the banners game, that could be good for them. There is also one for re-rolling a reanimation dice. Every time you do a reanimation roll, you can reroll 1 die. If you have that active the whole game, you're going to have that many more models popping up or reanimating every single turn. So big buffs for the Necrons, as long as all of their characters getting cheaper, including the Silent King. So watch out, Necrons are coming in hot, I think, for this summer. 2 armies got significantly nerfed. Well, got nerfed, I should say, as well as point changes. The Eldari Hail of Doom was nerfed. If you guys don't know what this is, it is by far the best custom craft world trait. Or I guess they're technically called far-flung craft world traits that you could take, and you could take this one along with another one. That one became so powerful, they said if you take Hail of Doom, now you only get that 1 trait for your whole army. You can't take 2 of them. It's a nice nerf, but I don't think it changes too much. Armies are still going to tech into it because it is still very powerful, but a nerf nonetheless. Tyranids got nerf again. Video on Friday is going to go really in depth with this one, but the Tyranids got some big changes. So first off, if you include a Hive Tyrant, he must be your Warlord. I thought this was going to be the case when the Codex first came out, because that was what happened with the Necrons. When their Codex came out right away to start 9th edition, their Lords had to be their Warlords. Now, Tyranids have that. So Hive Tyrants have to be your Warlord if you bring one. Also, if your Warlord dies, i.e. your Hive Tyrant, if you bring him, you lose your ability to have Synaptic Imperatives for the game. So if he goes, goes charging in turn 2, kills something, or doesn't quite kill something and gets caught out in the open because he can't overrun away or something, he's stuck there and he's probably going to die, and you're going to lose your imperatives, which are huge for the Tyranid army. Can be huge for the Tyranid army. So big change there. Also a really, really unfortunate one that I just don't like at all. The adaptive trait, called the adaptive trait, is no longer adaptive, meaning when you muster your army, you must decide what your adaptive trait is. You can't change it from game to game and pick between the other ones. I don't think it was giving Tyranid players that big of an advantage at all. I mean, they were fun little bonuses, but now it's basically when you build a Tyranid Hive fleet, you have 2 traits and you get to pick the second one. Not too different from making a custom trait, essentially, or a custom Hive fleet. I don't like this change at all. Coming from a Tyranid player, coming from a Fluff player, maybe if you guys are out there and you think that this rule was crazy broken and I just don't see it, then that's fine. Really, when I played it, I thought of, okay, I've got two of them I'm probably going to pick from depending on what my opponent has. And I typically just went with the one or the other. I never really had to think about it too much. So I don't think it was a big change, but it is something that we have to deal with now. So those are the big changes all summed up. I'm not going through all the point changes because that is not a waste of my time. And if you really want to see, you can figure them out for yourself. I think we will go over all the Tyranid ones specifically and talk about each one of those individually, because that's what I want to do. So that is on Friday. But in a conclusion for this kind of video, I'm liking the shakeups to 40k. It's not the same thing every time. You're constantly having to change how things play, and I think that's a great thing for 40k. Armies are going up, armies are going down. Some armies I know right now are going to be good. So Death Guard are going up. Admech and Sisters are going up. I didn't talk about the Sisters, but they got some nice point changes. Are going up. Death Guard or Thousand Suns are going up. Tyranids and Eldar are going down. Gene Steel Card is still stuck at the bottom, but it's a nice shift to the meta and how games are played, and I love that about it. So overall, I like the CP changes. I like the secondary changes. I think it's going to be a great time. Let me know what you guys think. Have you played a game yet with this chapter approved? I've got 1 game played already, and I really like the secondary changes. It makes you think a little bit. You have to tailor your lists a little more towards what secondaries you're going to do even more without stranglehold in the game. So that's a big one. I think it's good. So we'll keep the rambling there. I am pretty happy with this. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like the changes? Do you hate the changes? What do you want to see fixed in the next balanced data slate? And stay tuned to our video on Friday when we cover everything about the tierness changes, how we're going to adapt going forward. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.